Kia ora koutou, ko Rebecca Lowe toko ingoa. Welcome to today's online taster session of the Sustainability Leadership Program, or SLP, as we like to affectionately refer to it, run in partnership between the Sustainable Business Council and Catapult. It's wonderful to have so many of you attending this morning, and we're really excited to get stuck into things with you all. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined this morning by Andrea Thompson, Jacinda Page, and Nicole Schlichting to help run the session, who I will introduce more fulsomely shortly. But first, a very few couple of notes of housekeeping. Please stay on mute, but turn your video on if you feel comfortable to. We love to see your faces, and it certainly makes for a more engaging and connected online space. Please rename yourself to include your organisation as well as your name. We absolutely will be holding a Q&A session at the end of today's session, but please feel free to ask questions at any time just using the chat function at the bottom of the Zoom window. And also just a note that we will be running through some slides. So if you choose the side-by-side speaker view, I'm sure you're all old hands at Zoom by now. You can use the vertical line to change the sides of the slides so you can see us if you would like to as slightly larger talking heads throughout the session. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Head of Communications at SBC, and I thought I'd start this session with a short whakatauki. Poi poia te kakano kia puawai. Nurture the seed and it will blossom. This is one of my absolute favourite whakatauki, and it felt pretty appropriate to begin a taster for a course that really does nurture and help develop those who take part in it. So the purpose of this session really is to do what it says on the tin, to give you a taste for the SLP program. We're going to run through a format over the next hour where you'll hear about the benefits and key details of the program, gain some insights from past participants, as well as actually participate in a small mini session to get a real feel for what SLP is all about. And what you can look forward to if you go on to sign up for the course. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll leave time for you to ask as many questions as you might have, so do please feel free to fire them through chat at any time that they come up. So why the Sustainability Leadership Program? I've got some thoughts, obviously, but I'd love to hear your why as well and what brought you to this session today. So please, if you're happy to, share some thoughts through chat so we can hear what did bring you to the call this morning. In terms of our why, it might be helpful to give you a bit more detail on the Sustainable Business Council. For those of you who don't know us, we're a membership organisation comprised of more than 130 businesses, all committed to an Aotearoa where business, people and nature thrive. One key area of focus for us is building capability and sustainability across our businesses, and SLP is a really critical component of that work. We've been thrilled to partner with Catapult since 2017 to deliver the program, and for SBC it really has never been more important or fundamental as we continue to grapple with the multiple social, environmental and economic challenges ahead of us. Every year we see the demand for sustainability, expertise and leadership in the space is only continuing to grow as businesses continue to move to put sustainability at the very core of their organisation's strategy. So if we think about who SLP is for, it's really for any professional in a leadership position who has accountability for sustainability. And let's remember, no longer is it simply the domain of people for sustainability in their title, which I think is really reflected by the group of people on this call this morning. I'm also a prime example of that. Personally, when I first stepped into my role here at SBC, I had a lot of comms experience, but next to no sustainability experience. I was actually part of the 2020 SLP contingent, and I found it to be immensely impactful in building my confidence, my skill set, and my capability as a sustainability leader. But I think most importantly, it gifted me a network of like-minded peers to share and test my ideas and thinking with. And that network, or that group of people and those contacts who are there to sort of cheer you on from the sidelines and ensure you know you're not alone in your sustainability journey truly is invaluable. And that really is a sentiment that I hear regularly shared from other past participants. And there have been a lot of them. If we just flick through to the next slide, this gives you a bit of a glimpse of the organisations we've had participate over the years. And it's great to see so many of our members and other organisations represented up there. So for some deeper insights on the benefits and the format of SLP, I'm thrilled to hand over to my co-host, Andrea Thompson. Andrea is the co-CEO and co-founder of Catapult and a true leadership expert who runs and facilitates the course. As a graduate of the Harvard Kennedy School and Cambridge Institute of Sustainability Leadership, she brings an immense wealth of experience to the program. Catapult aims to be a model enterprise and is a certified B Corporation and certified climate positive. So with those impressive credentials, Andrea, over to you.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you, Rebecca, and I acknowledge the wonderful partnership that Catapult has over many years with SBC. And also thank you all for your interest in both sustainability and your own leadership development. I think this is the kind of sexiest career territory in the world right now. So, you know, very, very clever. It's the most employable skill set, the most in demand. So why is this important for Catapult? Our purpose is unleashing brilliance for a flourishing Aotearoa. And we recognise together with SBC that when it comes to making progress on sustainability, it's too slow. And there's a big leadership skill set and mindset gap. Turns out the mindsets and skill sets to advance sustainability challenges are distinct from traditional leadership challenges. We'll go into that today. So I've been asked to talk about the benefits, the focus, and the format. And at any time, please pop a question into chat as we go through any of these. And as Rebecca said, we'll be having a proper Q&A session at the end, and we'll go back through all the questions. Right, so what are the benefits? There's 4 key benefits. As I go through these, we're then going to run a poll and ask you to participate and say, of these, which one is most relevant to you? We'd be very curious to find out. First one is increased confidence. Very common for people to have sustainability land on their desk and then have them go, crikey, how the heck do I tackle this? And to have that dawning realization, I don't have all the answers. And this is way more complex than I thought it was going to be, and often get quite stressed and overwhelmed. Don't know if that's a common experience for you. Lots of people, or actually 100% of people doing SLP say they have this whole new level of self-confidence. Here's a quote from Helen Packenden of Chorus. SLP has given me greater confidence, new ways of looking at problems, and ways to collaborate with others. And then number 2 is connections. So forming valuable and lasting connections with a network of other people working on sustainability challenges across Aotearoa, people from the public sector, private sector, and not-for-profits. And we very intentionally design the program and ways of interacting so each person interacts with everyone else throughout the course of the program. It's far from conference. These work in small groups, and those groups differ from each of the workshops as well as the in-person workshop. Here's a quote from Samantha Meyer of Kaingaora. The course helped me expand my network. I've connected with other professionals. We've exchanged ideas and built valuable connections, and those connections last. We also have an SLP alumni group, which is a way of connecting with all previous graduates since 2017. Third key benefit is capabilities, building those leadership mindsets and skill sets to advance complex challenges, starting with the ability to diagnose them, to realize they're not just technical, they're actually what we call adaptive leadership challenges. So how do we approach making sense of those and then mobilize others to make progress on them? Here's a quote from James Carberry of Simply Energy. SLP helped me develop my systems leadership skills, notably the ability to step back and see the bigger picture surrounding my sustainability challenge and appreciate different perspectives and motivations. Another quote from Samantha, the impact of SLP and my work has been nothing short of transformative. It's been an incredible learning experience and has boosted my leadership skills significantly. I've learned about cutting-edge leadership practices and how to apply them effectively. So the benefits so far: confidence, connections, capability. The fourth one is actually advancing sustainability. So using the tools and frameworks to work on a real sustainability challenge throughout the program and making a difference to that challenge. Here's a quote from Ellie Johnston of Silver Fern Farms. I applied the program to create a water reduction pathway and shape the implementation strategy. So people come up with a sustainability strategy and go about implementing it and actually embedding it. Another example from Roger Robson-Williams of Plant and Food Research. He applied the program to reduce carbon emissions from air travel at Plant and Food Research by 66%. He thought it was going to take him 2 years. He got it done within the timing of the program. He also advocated to increase from 0.2% responsible for sustainability, so sustainability as well as another job, to actually be the full-time CSO for Plant and Food Research. So now we're going to run a poll and ask you to say, please, of all of these, and you probably want all of them, but if you had to pick one, what would make the biggest difference to you right now? And this is anonymous. So please participate in this poll, which Alana is going to launch. Wonderful. And as you're participating in this and the results are rolling on in, I'm going to mention a bonus benefit, which is career advancement. So I mentioned Roger Rodson Williams went from 0.2 to a full-time CSO. Another example is Jennifer Evans from Mondelez went from being responsible in New Zealand to internationally responsible for the whole of Mondelez, and now is based in New York, which is pretty cool. Right, let's see those poll results, please. Okay, can we see those yet? I'm not seeing them. Are you seeing them, Rebecca?
I am seeing that we've got capabilities is coming out at the top at the moment, and then that's closely followed by advancing sustainability, and then closely followed again by confidence, and then connections hot off the back of that.
Wonderful. There's almost a tie, isn't there, across the line? So you want them all, that's fine. And in some ways, they're like a value chain of benefits, because if you have the confidence and the capabilities, then you're going to apply those to advance sustainability, and we all need those network connections. Wonderful, thank you. We'll stop sharing those. Fabulous. Okay, and so then we covered the kind of benefits. Now, what do we actually cover? Well, we don't cover, importantly, technical aspects of sustainability. Some technical skills are important, but they differ depending on your nature of your challenge. So we don't teach you how to do life cycle analysis, or how to measure carbon, or how to specifically focus on slavery in your supply chain. Those technical skills are readily available elsewhere. What we focus on are leadership capabilities specifically needed to advance sustainability. Research shows these are the top 5, and we cover these in SLP. Communication, and we call that actually strategic influencing, strategic planning, building partnerships, problem solving, and leadership. So that's what we focus on. So if you're looking for technical skills, we don't recommend SLP. If you're looking for leadership mindsets and capabilities to work on complex sustainability challenges, this is the place for you. And then the format. So what does the program actually involve and look like? There's a getting started phase from now until the first workshop. So you identify a real sustainability challenge. Usually it's what you're working on in your day job. And in that way, the program helps you execute your day job. So for some people, it might be around climate. Others, it might be around waste. For some, it might be around a social sustainability challenge. So anything in the sustainability sphere that you can relate to any of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. You might have a really clear idea of your challenge, or just kind of a vague shape of it, and then it evolves as you go through the program. You find a sponsor, that might be your chief executive, who's going to support you through your program. And you decide if you want the optional 360-degree feedback, which is great to raise awareness of how others see you and find development areas. And there's optional one-on-one coaching as well. You register, you have bite-sized chunks of pre-work for each of the workshops, and we form you into these wonderful groups we call Leader Labs. I want to pause and touch on these, because these are one of the features that people say are one of the best things about the Sustainability Leadership Program. So say there's 30, 40, 50 people on the whole program. We form you into a small group with program peers based on a similar sustainability challenge, making sure you're in non-competing industries, and you form like a board of directors or a board of advisors for each other working throughout the program. You meet before each workshop and you form a really close-knit community. And we're told that those groups continue long after the boundary of the program. So that's a wonderful feature. And then there's the workshops themselves. There's a spaced and chunked style, which is nice because there's a lot to digest and apply. So there's 4 online 2-hour Zooms fortnightly apart, then a 2-day deep dive together in person, and then 2 follow-on Zoom workshops. Every workshop's highly interactive, using all the latest tools and getting you to meet and engage with all the different people on the program. The first set of workshops are around making sense. What is this thing in this field called sustainability? What are the leadership mindsets and capabilities needed? How do we do what we call zoom out and think outside in and future back? Awareness of the big picture, mega trends, how to see the system and map a system around your challenge. Then some inner work of leadership. This is becoming more and more recognised that to change the system out there, we need to work also in here, have a strong sense of our own purpose and values, our leadership backbone, we call that. Awareness of our style and where we may need to adapt our approaches, and how to sustain our own resilience while working on challenges that can at times seem quite overwhelming. And then this toolkit of how to diagnose sustainability challenges. The 2-day in person is rich and interactive and wonderful. It really is the peak. We learn all the skills of how to collaborate with others, how to co-create, how to lead systems change, and how to strategically influence. We also hear from a wonderful set of SBC members who are perhaps further along the road than your organisation might be, and really get to engage with them on how are they making progress. And then the final 2 workshops are about giving the work back to other people. Too often we find organisations think, oh, we've got a sustainability advisor, they'll solve it all. This needs to be embedded into everyone else's ways of thinking and roles. It's impossible for any 1 or 2 people to solve. So how do we embed sustainability into all of our ways of working? And how do we keep telling wonderful stories to keep motivating action and sustain momentum? So Jennifer said the way SLP was structured allowed us to learn new tools and techniques, practice applying them, get feedback from the group. It was very hands-on and practical. So it's not just about the theory, it's very much about the use of it. Now I'm going to hand back to Rebecca.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrea. That was a great overview of the benefits. And I have to say that I agree, the Leader Lab aspect of it is a really special and unique part of the course. And it is wonderful when after a series of virtual workshops, you can all come together for that 2-day in Wellington, which is just a great experience. But that's probably enough from me, because you probably want to hear more from some of the more recent past participants' experience. So it's my great pleasure to now introduce one of our 2023 SLP graduates for some further insights on how SLP was for her. Jacinda Page is the General Manager of Southern Cross Health Trust. Jacinda, we're very grateful to have you with us and to have your time this morning. So perhaps to get us started, maybe can you talk us through why you did SLP?
Morena, everyone, and thanks Rebecca and Andrea for having me today. It's lovely to be here and meet you all. So at the time I enrolled in the course, sustainability was recently included in my role. So I was Head of Strategy at Southern Cross Health Insurance, and my role had been expanded to include sustainability. I've been involved in sustainability projects for a little while on and off, but this was the first time it had been sort of formally included in my role. And I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the huge amount of information that's available. You know, there's lots of different articles and all sorts of theory and things out there that you can wrap your arms around, but it's really hard to know what is the right stuff to focus on, what is right for us, and how do we distill it down to make sure that we're focusing on the right things. So feeling a little bit overwhelmed and wanted to be able to develop a sustainability strategy that had credibility and that I could really back with confidence, and sell into my senior stakeholders, knowing that it was right and it was on the money. So also really wanted to expand my professional network in the sustainability sector, meeting new people, finding out what other organisations are talking about and thinking about, and just get to grips with the dynamics of the sector as well.
That's wonderful. And I guess I talked a little bit about who SLP is for, but I guess based on your experience, who would you say SLP is suited for?
Yeah, I'd say people at the sort of mid-senior level of their career with a real passion for sustainability, people who really want to make a difference and add value in the sustainability space, or maybe those who want to take a bit of a sideways step and see an opportunity for their organisation to make more of a difference. I think one of the benefits of the course was it teaches leadership concepts and frameworks that can be applied to a broad range of topics within sustainability, but it has, a clear sustainability lens. So it's a really great foundational program, and lots of different tools and frameworks that can be applied in different ways.
Absolutely. And I guess to build on the benefits a little bit more, I mean, as you just articulated, you came in with a pretty strong why. So were there any other key benefits of SLP, particularly for you? And I guess spin off to that also more widely to your organisation as well.
Yeah, I was definitely able to really quickly apply the tools and frameworks that were made available to us to be able to identify and clearly articulate the sustainability strategy of the organisation. So, and I was able to do that with more confidence and credibility. So getting a feel for what other people, organisations are thinking and feeling, and really understanding that we're all sort of going through this together at the same time. That sense of overwhelm was pretty common. Lots of people were feeling like that, and actually we don't need to have all the answers straight away. It's okay to be able to call on, other sources of information, go and find out the answers, and you're not expected to solve things on your own. So actually finding a group of people who are going through that similar sort of sense and experience at work really helped me feel assured that there were common issues relating to sustainability, and lots of different ways of distilling down the volume of information to focus on the right things.
Absolutely. So lots of benefits to unpack there. If you had to pick some of the most, your top valuable features of SLP, what do you think that they would be?
Oh gosh, there's already been some conversation about developing a great network of like-minded professionals in the sustainability sector, and I think that's really true for me. The leader labs were fantastic, and in regular contact still with the people in my group, including Nicole, who you'll meet in a minute. Really starting to inform and get a greater sense of the sustainability issues that New Zealand organisations are experiencing and New Zealand leaders are experiencing, and I think how we're all part of one system. So we're not doing this on our own as individuals, but we're also, our organisations and our sustainability strategies are ultimately connected as well. So we need to understand the impact that we can have on our own, but also the impact that we're going to be able to have together and how we might collaborate to do things differently. So acknowledgement that we're part of a wider system was a really great learning for me.
Absolutely. I think I'd agree that the strength of that collective is a pretty big takeaway that I took from the course as well. Now, Andrea touched on the fact that everyone brings an individual sustainability challenge to the equation from the outset. What kind of impact do you think that has in terms of moving through the course and your engagement with the course?
It's fantastic having a real life sustainability challenge in the course with you. It means that you can apply your learnings in real time. So, I know when you often do a course outside of work, the reading and that coursework does feel a little bit onerous, but actually through doing the work, the pre-work, the reading, the connections with the leader lab, the conversations with others, I was advancing my own work programs at the same time. So it didn't really feel onerous because I was able to immediately apply the things that I was learning and the frameworks and the handbook and the things like that to the stuff that I was working on day to day, and really helped kind of bring the answers to life a little bit as I was working through the challenge. So it was super helpful in that respect. So it's just kind of an immediate benefit straight away to all the conversations and the learning we were doing.
Awesome. So I guess quick fire final question. What's your top advice for those on the call today who might be thinking about doing the course?
Yeah, sign up, give it a go. I think, the benefits will pay off really quickly. I think for me, I was able to step into conversations with senior people with a lot more confidence and credibility. If that sense of being connected in sustainability networks in New Zealand and corporate New Zealand was fantastic, actually. And I'm still seeing the benefits of that.
That's wonderful. It's super helpful insights, Jacinda. Thank you so much again for sharing. Now, just to remind you, Jacinda is staying on the call, so she will be available for Q&A at the end of the session. So if you do have some questions, please start firing them through. And Betsy, we will certainly come back to your question with all full details towards the end of this. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of more of a look at the hands-on feel for the sustainability challenge aspect of the course. And I'm very happy to be able to introduce another SBC face, our senior comms advisor, Nicole Schlichting, who also participated, as Jacinda mentioned, in last year's SLP contingent. Nicole, can you give us a bit of an overview of your challenge and the progress you've made in the 6 months since graduating from the course?
Yeah, absolutely. Kia ora, everyone. I went into SLP a bit unsure about what my sustainability challenge was actually going to be. I kind of had a vague idea that it would be something around communicating sustainability achievements in a transparent way. And it was actually my leader lab, including the lovely Jacinda, which helped me refine it into its final form, which was around SBC's role in amplifying and showcasing our member achievements while also making sure that we are being really conscious of not greenwashing on behalf of our members, and kind of figuring out how we can strike this balance. So and how we can mitigate our own brand reputation risks while still celebrating the awesome mahi that our members are doing. So a few of the frameworks taught during the 2-day workshop were really, really helpful for me in kind of processing this challenge, breaking it up into smaller bits, coming up with a plan, and looking at the risks and the opportunities. So since SLP, I've made really good progress on my challenge. From the kind of risk side, we've now implemented a member communications transparency policy that's designed to mitigate some of those brand risks that we face while also providing useful guidance for our members around radical transparency in their sustainability communications. And then from an opportunity side, we have pulled together a bit of a comms plan for the year with some different ideas on how we can educate our members around greenwashing and radical transparency, but also hold them to account in their comms. And of course, also how we can celebrate the ones who really kind of hit the ball out of the park, hit the nail on the head with their communications. So yeah, it's been really cool to see the evolution of my sustainability challenge through SLP and beyond. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how things are unfolding. And yeah, my leader lab was really, really helpful in helping me develop that. And as I think either Rebecca or Andrea mentioned, the leader lab has kind of continued onward. So even though we did the course, 8 months ago, we actually just met up for coffee a couple of weeks ago and have continued to catch up and share our challenges and help problem solve together. So it's been great.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. And I guess from a manager's perspective, it's been wonderful to see the trajectory that you've been able to take since participating in the course. And I think it provides a really great practical example of the sort of momentum SLP can create for the participants who get involved. So remember, if you do have any questions for either Nicole or Jacinda, send them through. We'll stick around as well. So we will come back to those in our Q&A a little bit later. But for now, Andrea, I'll hand back to you to take us through our mini exercise.
Wonderful. So wanted to give you a taste of a framework we actually use in SLP. So this is all about working out what kind of challenge are you working on and then matching the appropriate leadership response. So this sits in this is the leadership capability framework that we build on based on huge amounts of research into the mindsets and skill sets needed of people seeking to advance sustainability. And we're in that second circle, diagnosing sustainability challenges. And why is this important? Well, too often challenges are related to like they're technical. And so we apply technical solutions and we actually fail to move the hearts and minds and influence others around us who actually need to adapt. So this framework is called the Agreement and Certainty Matrix. What I'd like you to do is think, please, of a particular challenge you're seeking to advance, anything in the sustainability field, social, environmental, economic. And as I distinguish the model, think to yourself, what kind of challenge is this mainly? And then we'll run a poll on that, and then we'll reveal what the leadership response needs to be that matches the type of challenge you're working on. So the Agreement Certainty Matrix has 2 axes. The first is around certainty. Is an issue close to certainty or far from it? And then agreement. Stakeholders around this issue, are they close to agreement about what's happening and what needs to be done, or are they far from agreement? And then we'll plot 5 different types of issues. So first we have simple issues. Cause and effect are known, stakeholders agree. An example is how to make a cake. Okay, grab the recipe book, here we go. And then we have issues that are really complicated. They're far from certainty, and yet stakeholders tend to agree. So sending a rocket to a moon, there's a body of scientists around the world who agree on how to approach that. And then we have political issues. Stakeholders disagree. So an example might be, I don't know, whether to grant a resource consent for mining on conservation land. Discuss. Imagine we'd have different perspectives would come out there, and that's quite political. And then we have issues that are complex, where we're both far from certainty and stakeholders disagree. An example might be eradicating plastic waste. Turns out that's actually really complex. In some instances, paper is actually worse than plastic, and yet we all want to get rid of plastic in supermarkets. And what about courier packs? Are those compostable ones better or not? They kill my worm farm. So these issues are actually more complex than we perhaps at first think. So then we have the fifth category, which is chaotic, super turbulent. Example might be an earthquake and recovery. How do we respond? Is there any one right way? Stakeholders disagree, and the issue itself arises unexpectedly. So now we're going to run a poll. Is the challenge you're working on mainly simple, complicated, political, complex, or chaotic? So I know you might say actually it's more than one of these, and that's often the case, but if you have to choose one, what would it be? Thank you so much for participating in this. I'm be really curious to see. Okay, almost all answers are in. Keep it going for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How exciting. Please share the results. Aha, complex with some complicated and political elements. Perfect. Awesome. So that's really helpful for us then, isn't it? So now we need to know, okay, given the type of challenge, how do I need to customize my leadership response? So we'll stop sharing those, but we'll remember where we're at. We're at complex, complicated, and political. Okay, wonderful. So if we're in the simple territory, and hardly any of you chose that it's simple, then it's just find the recipe and apply it. If we're in the complicated territory, there is a field of known expertise. It's a technical kind of challenge, so consult experts. And some aspects of sustainability challenges we can plug in technical. But as you've almost all identified, sustainability challenges go beyond that. So yes, there may be some technical aspects, but we're actually observing these days organizations are stuck in the technical. So they're measuring and reporting, but is there sufficient progress? Do people transform through reports? I wonder. Actually, are we evolving our actions sufficiently? Political, if we're in this territory, we need to actually learn how to pitch our ideas, sell, negotiate, find allies, find imperfect solutions. And some of you said you've got complicated and political elements. But the majority of you said you're in the complex territory, which is where most sustainability challenges sit. And fortunately or unfortunately, that means we have to co-create the solutions. So even though you may or may not have sustainability in your title, and others may think, well, you're just going to go and solve it, you need to know you can't solve it alone. You have to collaborate with others. You have to form coalitions and partnerships, and you have to co-diagnose the problem and co-create the solutions. And people with the problem in the community or organizations or supply or value chain need to co-own the actions. So these are the skill sets that SLP focuses on: collaborative, complexity, systems leadership. If you're in the chaotic, then actually the first set of leadership actions are create order, stabilize, and then use the disruption as an opportunity for innovation. So I hope you found that interesting. And maybe it's thought-provoking thinking, am I providing technical solutions, but maybe I need to move into the more adaptive, co-creative solutions. Here's something that David Orchard of Silver Fern Farms said: sustainability can sometimes feel like a big, vague problem and a burden to solve. That's a very common feeling. Through SLP, I realized sustainability is a systems problem, and I now have the tools and skills to lead systems change. All right, so that's a taster of one of dozens and dozens of frameworks that we use in the program. Now we'd like to move into Q&A, which Rebecca is going to lead us through.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Andrea. And hopefully that does give everyone a bit of a taste for the richness of the content and the tools that are contained within this course. So as Andrea noted, as you guys digest and think about your own roles and what's ahead for you and your businesses and how SLP might be able to help, we will turn our focus to some questions and any questions that you might have. So please fire them through via chat. We've had one come through from Lucy McKenzie asking about the scope of the challenge and whether her specific challenge she's outlined would be too big to fit into the course or not. Jacinda's provided some great context back in terms of the flexibility of the different challenges you can bring to the equation, and where some might be broad, others are more specific and focused. But one question that comes to mind, and maybe Andrea, I will pass it over to you to build on those questions, is what if you're struggling to define your sustainability challenge that you want to bring to the course? What's your advice there?
Yeah, great. That example is, it's big, and most sustainability challenges are big. As long as you know the field of the challenge and the sustainable development goal that it applies to, that's enough to get going. As you then start moving through the program, you'll naturally chunk down the challenge into more manageable pieces. So for example, there's a diagnostic piece, there's a how do you form collaborations, and then there's a how do you embed it into the culture and other people's roles piece. I'm wondering if Nicole might have something to add to that.
Yeah. As I mentioned, my sustainability challenge when I first registered for SLP, I kind of was like, I don't know, something about sustainability communications, and I hadn't really kind of put my finger on what exactly it was that I wanted to kind of discover. And over the course of the program and through conversations with my leader lab, it kind of became clear while we were working through various frameworks and exercises where I was kind of chunking down all of the different pieces of this sort of mythical challenge that I was trying to nail down. That helped me narrow in on what I actually wanted to focus on. So I think, and from my conversations with other people who did SLP last year, I think there were a number of people who kind of came in with quite a targeted sustainability challenge, and it ended up becoming broader. And then similarly, some people who started with a really broad challenge and ended up narrowing down on something. So I would say your sustainability challenge will probably morph over the course of the program, and that's okay. And I think that the work that Andrea takes you through as part of the program will help you figure out, like, really get to the kind of material challenge for you, and really get to the kind of core of what matters and what's important to solve.
Wonderful, supremely helpful. Thank you, Nicole. Now we've just had another question come in from Campbell, which again, Andrea, I might pass to you in the first instance and then see if Nicole or Jacinda may want to build on off the back of it. But does the course have more value for people working in organisations as individuals, or or for individuals who are contractors or consultants?
Yeah, that's a great question. Both. So we've had people from Toitu EnviroCare, Think Step, KPMG, and all sorts of other consulting organisations come on the program, and basically gives them a toolkit they can use to then support their clients in transforming. So often their focus is particular client challenges and what's in common there. KPMG actually asked us to run a version of this in-house for them, and they've developed 20 of their people leaders in these capabilities. So I very much both. It's a very relevant toolkit for contracting and consulting.
Absolutely. And we've talked a little bit about sort of, some pre-work and some pre-reading that goes into the course. I guess, Nicole and Jacinda, maybe I'll open this one up to you. But what would you say is the impact of the workload participating in the course, and fitting that into your day jobs?
I think I mentioned when I was talking before that didn't feel like work actually, because it was advancing the work that I was doing in my day job as I was doing the coursework. And so it was extremely beneficial. And I think once you get into the flow of things and understand the expectations and how to schedule things in, it became a really great touch point that I was looking forward to, and kind of saying, oh, when is the next one, so that I can get ready for it. And yeah, so there's always, you need to always put effort into these sorts of things, and you get out of them what you put into them. So yeah, there is some reading to do and there is connections to be made, but it's really valuable. And if this is something that you're passionate about and want to do, then it will benefit you.
Yeah.
And it's worth doing.
Just to add to that, I found I really like the way Andrea has pulled together resources that are a combination of kind of PDFs, but also videos and podcasts and different kinds of content. So I ended up finding that like I would sit on the exercise bike and watch a video or listen to a podcast or even read a PDF. So it was kind of finding ways to get creative. I didn't feel like I needed to sit down and put my headphones in. I could kind of do them when I was doing other stuff as well. And similarly, as Jacinda mentioned, with the leader labs, that was definitely something that I would find myself looking forward to. It's just nice to have a korero every couple of weeks with other people in the sustainability industry and build really strong relationships with them.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you, guys. Now, Andrea, Betsy's asked, what framework do you follow so that the systems are sustainable for future generations to make changes in the system? I wonder if you've got any insights on that, even just in terms of some of the frameworks that will be discussed as part of the course.
I love that question because it takes us right to the definition of sustainability, which you've captured really well inside your question. The core model we have is a nested systems level of sustainability, so that we want society to thrive. The economy is a function of our society, and we need to choose an appropriate economic setting, and we all need to live within planetary boundaries. So we focus on regenerative leadership and just and regenerative futures. So it's not just for our generation, it is for future generations. That's a great question. I love that. Oh, can I jump into this next one from Campbell?
Yes, absolutely. I've got some thoughts on this as well, but you, Campbell, would like to know what collateral do you have to help sell the course to boards and CEOs? So Andrea, take it away.
Awesome. So up in the chat, there's a link to our website, and there's so many testimonials and case studies of the benefits of the program. There's a detailed program brochure. And I think after this taster, we're going to email out to everyone and attach a one-page brochure too, or if we're not, we can, to make that easier. But yeah, in your experience, how did you manage to pitch doing this to your organization successfully, the three of you?
Well, I would just jump in and say that obviously it depends what kind of information your organization might like. A brochure, with a few pages might take a long time to read through. A one page might not. They might like visual stuff. We've got some excellent videos of past participants as well, which are really nice short snippets, which show the impact that the course has had on others. So that might be another option of a piece of collateral to easily get in front of people that is engaging and really impactful as well. So I'd say we've got a suite. We can provide it to everyone on the call so that you've got all the tools at your fingertips to kind of pull out what might be the best option to use given your own personal circumstances. But Jacinda, I wonder if how you went about sort of selling it when you wanted to do the course.
I think the material that's provided is helpful, but probably more important was the narrative and conversation that I put around it and the relationship that I had with my boss. And at the time, she was very aware that actually this was a new area for us at the time and something that we wanted to do really well. And actually we needed some help. And so, we'd recently joined up to the SBC as well. So it was an ongoing and live conversation between me and my leader about how do we make sure that we upskill our capabilities in the space to be able to do this well and connect them with others. And this course seemed to offer the things that we were looking for. So for me, it was actually about going through the material, picking out the bits that were most sort of honing in on the reasons why we needed to do it, and then just having that open conversation and being really honest about some of the gaps in the organisation.
Absolutely. Nicole, anything to add to that?
No, I think you've covered it, Jacinda.
Nice. So Lucy's asked, and I wonder, Nicole, if I throw this one to you in the first instance, because I know you had quite a spread and breadth of representation in your leader lab, but she's asked us, is the course relevant for people who've been working in the sustainability area for a while, around 10 years, for example, as well as to those who are quite new to sustainability?
Yeah, so in our leader lab, I was 6 months, oh, maybe more than that, maybe about a year into the sustainability. So like Rebecca, my experience is in communications, and I decided that I wanted to find more purpose-driven work while still being in communication. So that's kind of what led me to get the job at SBC. So I was new, I still am relatively new in the scheme of things to sustainability, but also in my leader lab and on last year's course were people who had been in sustainability for well over a decade. So yes, I would say it is relevant to anyone. I don't think necessarily that your experience level in sustainability is important. I would say it depends on whether you have done similar leadership courses like this in the past, right? So the way that I view SLP, it is a leadership course taught through the lens of sustainability, rather than, as Andrea says, like a technical sustainability course. So, if you've been in sustainability for 10 years, you probably have a lot of the technical skills around sustainability that this course doesn't focus on. This course is more around leadership, and obviously the whole thing is taught within and through the lens of sustainability. So that would be the kind of way that I would approach that question, less about your experience in sustainability and more about how you feel your own leadership skills are. If you feel like you could develop your leadership skills further and want to do that within the context of sustainability, which is obviously why we're all here, then yeah, I think SLP would be a really good option.
Nice. Anything you wanted to add to that, Andrea?
I think that's really well covered.
Yeah, beautiful. So we touched on before sort of selling the idea to CEOs and boards and that sort of thing. But actually, once you get into the course, you obviously want to stay connected with your manager in terms of embedding what you're learning and that sort of thing. So Jacinda, what would be your advice around communicating and working with your manager to sort of embed what you're learning in your organization?
Yeah, good question. That can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes when your leader is pulled in lots of different directions and probably has lots of other direct reports to speak with about what they're learning. I kind of naturally pulled it into my regular one-on-ones with my boss and gave her updates and made sure that she was aware of what we were thinking about, the themes that were coming through the course and how they were relevant to my work, and making sure that she was just kept abreast of, kind of the value and the benefits that the course was offering as often as I could catch up with her.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And Andrea, you touched on that obviously there's a wonderful network of alumni that have been through SLP. Is there any sort of continued support or anything additional that alumni get once they've completed the course?
This is where my true nerdness shows up. I have this, what I affectionately call my nerd cave, and it's 26 pages of links to extended sustainability leadership resources and growing. And so you are welcome to join that nerd cave, bless you, just as if the program resources aren't enough, which I know they are. And also there's a LinkedIn SLP alumni private network, and we're frequently posting links to events and resources and webinars and courses and all sorts of things in that forum. And people also use that forum as a chance to celebrate what they're accomplishing, reach out for network support.
Wonderful. Thank you. And yes, Nicole's just confirming with everyone that she continues to use the Nerd Cave regularly as a very, very valuable resource. So that is wonderful to have access to.
It's a one-stop shop.
Absolutely. I guess to maybe round some of the questions out, Nicole and Jacinda, if you were to do the course again, is there anything that you think you would think about differently, do differently, prepare differently before you went into it?
It's a good question. I think thinking about my sustainability challenge and how it kind of morphed when I originally started the course, I remember kind of within the first session thinking, man, I wish that I had taken more time to think through my sustainability challenge. But actually, with the way that things had turned out, I'm glad that I let it kind of unfold over the course of the program. Would I change anything else? I don't think so. I am so pleased with my leader lab, the relationships that we built in our leader lab, and the 2-day was great. I don't think I would change anything. No. Jacinda, what about you?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I feel similarly about the challenge. I was probably a little bit anxious and feeling underprepared when the first session kicked off because I hadn't really nailed it. But actually, yeah, like Nicole said, it actually wasn't necessary, and it did totally frame up and reshape somewhat through the course. What else? Maybe before the Wellington session, it would have been great to have a few more one-on-one or reach out to a couple of people in the course outside of the Leader Lab. Maybe that's something I would do differently. Yeah, can't really think of a lot else, to be honest.
That's great. That's wonderful. Andrea, Mira's just asked a really great question, I think. Is the course relevant for aspiring leaders who are not in a leadership position within an organisation yet?
Yeah, so we relate to leadership as not about being position and title. Leadership's distinct from authority. It can come with authority or without authority. So it could be an amazing way to kickstart a career in sustainability, and to do so with confidence and the appropriate toolkit to apply, as long as you do have something real for the program to apply to. And you could well do as an aspiring leader. There's some sustainability challenge that you're contributing to. You don't have to have direct reports, be a manager to do SLP.
Just following on from that, I really like this question. And that was one of the things that I was wondering in kind of the first few sessions with of the course. And there's one section in one of the workshops, I can't remember, Andrea, it might be like workshop 2 or 3, that looks at leadership and what is leadership versus managing. Like, how, are you a leader or a manager or both, or kind of, and how are you dividing your time? And I found that really, really interesting, because I have no intention of trying to become the kind of chief sustainability officer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to be a sustainability leader. So I think the course does a really good job of differentiating between those two things, and is relevant for anyone as long as they want to themselves become a sustainability leader, regardless of kind of job title or their career trajectory.
Wonderful. Super helpful and super insightful. Thank you both, Andrea and Nicole. I'm just conscious of time. We are getting to the close to the end of the session, but thank you everyone for those questions. Really interesting questions, really engaging questions, and we do appreciate them. If anybody else would like to know anything else, don't hesitate to get in touch via email, and we will certainly come back to you with any answers you may be on the lookout for. But for now, Andrea, I will hand back to you to close us out.
Beautiful. So if you're feeling like this is a good fit for you, how do you go about taking action? Well, you hop on the website and you register. Pretty simple. There's an early bird discount, which is quite significant, which ends on the 23rd of February. Additional discount for SBC members. Registrations close on the 22nd of March. Hey, a little shout out, those of you in the not-for-profit sector, Catapult is offering a set of scholarships in the not-for-profit sector. Applications close by the 23rd of February. So if you are not-for-profit, hop on in there. And then, just search Catapult Sustainability Leadership and you take it away from there. If you've got any questions, a follow-up email will come through. It'll have my email. I really invite an ongoing dialogue to support you in making your choice. And I'd love to close us out with a karakia. Kua mutu a motu mahi mo tēnei wā, mana ki tia mai motu katoa, o matu hoa, o matu whānau, aio ke te aorangi. Our work is finished for the moment. Bless us all, our colleagues, our families, and peace to the universe. Thank you so much for your time and interest. We really greatly appreciate it. Wishing you all the best, and ka kite.